Last night was opening night in the NBA, and it did not disappoint. Well, unless you thought the Knicks were going to be competitive in this first game against the Boston Celtics, but there are a lot of storylines, a lot of fun things to talk about. We're going to get into all and more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your number one spot for everything basketball related. I'm the host here, Haise, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today. And we're going to just focus on the two games that happened last night in tip-off night for the NBA. And we're going to get to the Boston Celtics and New York Knicks game second, right? I want to focus on this Lakers and Minnesota Timberwolves game first. And a lot of things in this game. Of course, you had the moment with LeBron James and Bronny James checking in. And Bronny played 3 minutes in this game. It was literally just for the moment, just for the photo op. Shout out to Steve-O who called it. And that's really what this was about. Played 3 minutes. He went 0 for 2 from the field. He took a three. He missed it. He did register 1 rebound in this. Otherwise, it was a Tony Snell stat line from Bronny James. But it wasn't about that. It was about the moment of making NBA history, of having father-son in the game at the same time. And that's really what this moment was about. It wasn't about anything other than that. And, I'm glad they were able to have it. I'm glad they were able to have that moment. It is making NBA history. And for, regardless of how you feel about Bronny James and him as an NBA player or prospect or whatever is there, you got to acknowledge this moment in the history that was being made there. But outside of that, there was a basketball game played. And this actually was a really fun game against the Minnesota Timberwolves. One that afterwards, the comments from both sides really kind of told you how this was viewed by both teams. Anthony Edwards coming out and saying this: we wasn't ready to play. So I agree with Finchie on that part. We came out to relax, like people respect us. We got to bring more. Sacramento will be better. So that's the thing when you look at it, right? The Lakers had in this game 72 points in the paint. That's a crazy number when it comes down to it. And it really comes down to the effort level that the Minnesota Timberwolves gave. This is not the same team that we saw go through the Western Conference playoffs. It just isn't. Like the intensity defensively from this team, the intensity overall from this team just was not there yesterday. And it was really highlighted by the fact that after the game, Rui Hachimura said that we knew that sometimes with Julius Randle, we know he just stands around sometimes. So we knew we had to attack him. That's wild to be able to say that about a player, right? Your new acquisition that you traded Karl-Anthony Towns for, teams are like, oh, yeah, we know he just stands around. We knew we had to absolutely attack him, that we would have some success there. It's not all on him, right? You look at Rudy Gobert, fresh off his 3-year, over $100 million extension when it comes down to it. And, while people, of course, already had, because he got dunked on in this game, people, of course, are already saying, well, look, this is already overpaid. It's a bad deal made by the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Timberwolves just did not have enough in this game. Like, the effort wasn't there. The execution wasn't there. Offensively, they had it at times, right? They only lost by 7 points. And if you're saying that a team gave terrible effort defensively, but still only lost by 7 points, there's that. But then it's also, how do you look at the Los Angeles Lakers, right? And you got to give it credit. This was Anthony Davis's night. 11 of 23 from the field, 13 of 15 from the three-point line, 16 rebounds, 36 points, 4 assists, 3 blocks in this game, 1 steal. A healthy Anthony Davis, for anybody that forgot, is a monster in this league. And that's what this game really dictated. When you look at this team was led by not LeBron James in scoring, not LeBron James with assists, not any of that, right? It was Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis in 36 points, 4 assists, 16 rebounds, that stat line. Rui Hachimura as well, and him talking about attacking Julius Randle, 18 points. He was 7 of 14 from the field, had some really big buckets for this Los Angeles Lakers team. LeBron did chip in 16 as well on 16 shots, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks in this game. Didn't have to do too much. D'Angelo Russell, 4 for 12 from the field for 9 points, but it is what it is. When this type of game, you can weather that. Austin Reeves had some big moments defensively in this game and offensively. 6 for 14 for 12 points, 9 rebounds in this game. The 10 points from Haise coming off the bench as well. Dalton Connect hit a big shot at one point in this game, but he was 2 for 4, 5 points, only 16 minutes. But overall in this game, JJ Redick was really proud of the effort the guys gave in this game. After the game saying, I thought overall our guys did really well and did a phenomenal job of executing our game plan. And so, that's what it comes down to. This was a team win by the Los Angeles Lakers. And listen, it was really good to see that when it comes down to it. Like, the Lakers executed well. They came into this game extremely prepared. And, it just is what it is. It was fun to see a team like that. And even though the Lakers shot absolutely terrible from three-point range, 5 for 30 for 16%, the way that they executed in the paint, you just can't deny the way that they attacked the teeth of this Minnesota Timberwolves defense. And while, Anthony Edwards in this game did lead the Minnesota Timberwolves in scoring with 27 points. Shout out to him there. He did that on 25 shots, though, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. You got 16 points from Julius Randle going 5 of 10 and 9 rebounds. Rudy Gobert, of course, had a double-double with 13 and 14. But overall, this team shot 41% from the field, 31% from three-point range. They had 15 turnovers in this game. They just did not take care of the ball, whereas the Lakers only had 7 turnovers in this game. And also, they got the rebounding battle was close enough, but this really just came down to just a team that looked like they were ready and a team that came in like the Minnesota Timberwolves and like Anthony Edwards said, like they won something. Like, it was really disappointing for those like me that I look at Ant very favorably. He's one of my favorite players in this league. I do think he could be the face of the league at one point at some point. But you gotta be prepared and locked into this game, and they just weren't. As a team, they weren't locked in, and it just kind of is what it is when it comes down to it. So that's what we come down to. The Lakers, of course, got to shoot the ball better when it comes down to it, and overall, it was solid when it comes down to that. And this was a fun and exciting game, but it wasn't the first game of the night. This season opened up with the New York Knicks versus the Boston Celtics. And the Boston Celtics, who shot amazing, almost set an NBA record for three-pointers, 29 of 61. I think they missed like their last 18 threes or something like that. They just could not break the record. So that, that's unfortunate when it comes down to it. But outside of that, there are some big overreactions that are going to come out of this game, mainly because of just how well the Boston Celtics did. But one thing you got to look at, Jason Tatum, for a player that, people have looked at and said, can he win an MVP? Is it overstated? Things like that. He looked like the best player on the court by far, maybe even one of the best players in the NBA. Well, he is already one of the best players in the NBA, but he played last night like the best player in the NBA. And you just got to give Jason Tatum credit for that. Like, this is a team that's missing Kristaps Porzingis, but still gave a ton of effort, 37 points. He went 8 of 11 from the three-point range, only 18 shots to get 37 points from Jason Tatum. Really good efficiency. He also had 10 assists in this game, 4 rebounds, 1 block, 1 steal. Jason Tatum did everything on the court last night for the Boston Celtics. And then Jaylen Brown, 23 points. You also had 24 points from White, 18 points from Jrue Holiday, 11 points from Al Horford. Like, this team came in and did everything that you thought that the most positive outlook you can have on what the Boston Celtics could do against the New York Knicks. It was all there yesterday. It was really all there. And it was fun to watch. And the Knicks got some serious questions that they got to ask themselves. Like, what the hell is going on with Mikal Bridges' shot? What is going on with Mikal Bridges? Like, did you forget how to shoot the basketball? He's releasing the ball higher than what he's done before. It's going above eye level. And at the end of the day, people are going to absolutely kill Mikal Bridges for the shot and what he's doing there, because this is a player that's been able to shoot the ball pretty solidly over the course of his career. So, at the end of the day, I don't know why he changed the mechanics of his shot, who he was talking to. It's not like he had a bad release point or anything on the shot before, but it was more than that, right? It was more than just, of course, Mikal Bridges shooting. That's just something a lot of people are going to talk about. The New York Knicks in this game just did not have any type of edge. And Karl-Anthony Towns went 5 of 9 for 12 and 7 in this game. You had Jalen Brunson go for 22 points. You had Mikal Bridges for 16, even with that funky shot. Josh Hart with 12 points as well. We had McBride with 22 coming off the bench, right? But when you look at this game, overall, they could not stop Jason Tatum. And they could not stop the hot three-point shooting from the New York Knicks. They just couldn't do from the Boston Celtics. They couldn't do anything, right? And if this is the platform that the Celtics are starting off with, right? They set a franchise record in three-pointers. They came 1 3-point shy of setting an NBA record for most in a single game, right? if this is how the Boston Celtics are going to be both defensively and shooting the three ball, this is going to be a dangerous team because of what they're able to do out on the perimeter when it comes down to it. And listen, if this is just a taste, and again, we've seen teams have big first nights, big letdowns first nights. It doesn't necessarily dictate how their season's going to look overall, but I tell you what, the Boston Celtics under Mazzulla are going to shoot the three-point extremely well, right? And this was the Celtics really starting off this season, letting the NBA know that there's not about to be any type of letdown this season for the Boston Celtics, right? I, for one, was one guy that said, hey, the Boston Celtics may take their foot off the gas a little bit in the regular season. They've done it now before, and they may pace themselves a little bit better to be prepared for the postseason. But now, after seeing how they came out in this game, I just don't know if that's going to be the case, right? This is a team that seems very well locked in on both sides of the basketball. And if they're gonna play like this every single night with this intensity, of course, you're not expecting them to go off from three-point range like this every single night. That'd be crazy to talk about, right? But this is still a team that is extremely deep. You're gonna be adding Kristaps Porzingis at the end of the calendar year, right? Right around New Year's is when he's gonna come back. This is going to be a team that just it could very well lead the NBA in point differential once again. But let's not have the overreactions on the Knicks so far. The Knicks still shot over 55% from the field in this game, 36% from three, which isn't great, right? But I've already seen some people that had some knee-jerk reactions like, oh, well, the Knicks have clearly, they're a worse team now. Like, let's wait and see how things are going to acclimate for the Knicks. But, this was still a very fun game to watch. The Celtics versus Knicks, just the storylines there, everything. And, Joe Mazzulla also throwing a little bit of shade when he asked what the court tasted like against the Knicks. He said blood. Yeah, they spilled some blood out there on that court because it was a massacre is what we saw yesterday. And so just to see this continue to develop, things like that is going to be fun to watch. But listen, this NBA season started off with a very fun 1-2 punch. Very fun 1-2 punch. And, if you're just a basketball fan, somebody who just enjoys the game of basketball, I know people are going to have their teams and things like that. There are so many storylines just from this first night that this is going to be a really fun season to watch. Really fun season to watch. You got Josh Hart joking about the Celtics need a drug test and things like that. Like, it's all fun right now, right? And teams are coming in really free, but as these things continue to develop for the teams that played yesterday and whatnot, it's going to be fun and interesting to watch. It's really going to be fun and interesting to watch, but this was a very, very fun game, I feel like. To watch for opening night. It was one of the more fun nights that we had on opening night. The Boston Celtics becoming the Golden State Celtics is funny, right? So when it comes down to that, but this is just really fun to watch. But to get all the opening night games, right, of course, let's get into some of the things around the league. And so we got an update on Devin Vassell as far as from Greg Popovich and, him not necessarily being healthy yet. Greg Popovich did say no contact yet, but we're still hopeful that at the beginning of November, sometime he'll be with us. Now, listen, Devin Vassell is a player that put up really good numbers, right? And I think when you look at what this Spurs team is now trying to do, it seems like a Spurs team with adding the veterans that they have, things like that, they're trying to win basketball games. They're not trying to bottom out. They're definitely not tanking, anything like that. They're going to be trying to win basketball games. And Devin Vassell can be a really important part of that, right? 19.5 points per game last year. The question is that can he stay on the court, right? 68 games played last season, really good. The second most of his NBA career, the most since his second year in the league, which is trending in the right direction. But you want a Devin Vassell that's going to be able to stay on the basketball court because Devin Vassell can really help add a lot of what this team needs. You look at his last year, 37% from three for a team that's going to need some spacing, especially with Wemby out there to provide some more of that spacing for it. I really like that aspect of it. So I hope that Devin Vassell can get back on it. Greg Popovich went on to add that he scripted today all the plays, that kind of thing. He went up and down. So, he's not expected to miss. Right now, he's not expected to miss much of the season. It's in October. We're talking about him being there at the beginning of November. So that's really good. And Devin Vassell saying this. Right now, I'm on the court, moving around really good, doing everything. I'm hoping to be back as soon as possible. And the Spurs, for a team that's trying to make the next step, right? Whatever that next step is for them, whether it is competing for a play-in or just winning more games, whatever that is, I think that's a lot of opportunity there. And so, we'll see what that brings for the Spurs. The Spurs are one of the more fun teams to watch, especially with Wemby on that team. They're always going to be a fun team to watch, but also to watch with Chris Paul, Harrison Barnes there as well. Like, what they have there as far as depth pieces as well, like the young players that they're trying to develop as well, with Stephen Castle being there also, like Keldon Johnson when he gets healthy. Like this is I think this is going to be a fun team to watch. And Jeremy Sohan as well. While I did not like the Jeremy Sohan experiment at point guard, I still think this kid has a lot of potential there. So another thing to look out for there as well. Now, to get into our last topic for today, this one's an article when talking about who could trade candidates for the Golden State Warriors. Now, we know that the Golden State Warriors extended Moses Moody. Jonathan Kuminga did not get extended. There's also some word coming out over the last couple of days that the Warriors actually did try to get Paul George. They tried to get Lauri Markkanen. They tried to put forward, they wanted to trade for both those guys, is the report coming out of that. And so they try to build a team. So it seems like this is still a team that is keeping their head up right now to try to maybe put something around Steph while he's still being very productive, because Steph Curry is still very productive, to maybe pivot and bring in some players that are win-now players. Now, they weren't able to get Lauri Markkanen. They didn't get Paul George to come here. They pursued both of them reportedly in the offseason. They even turned down a deal to send Chris Paul for Zach LaVine outright, right? Like they decided to just get off that contract to Chris Paul instead. So this sits the Warriors in a place where, not initially, and they may wait to see if Kuminga makes another leap before they make a brash decision or anything like that, but it seems like the Warriors are open to making win-now moves if they can and they present themselves. So a list of players that they could be looking to trade if they need to. I think first up is Kevon Looney. Now, Kevon Looney is a player that I like on this team, but I think when you look at it as well, is that he hasn't really taken the necessary leap to make it avoidable, especially if the Warriors are looking. Now, they did guarantee his contract, which is really good in that, but he was already part of trade discussions reportedly this offseason. So it seems like a Kevon Looney could still be on the market if it means the Warriors getting somebody back now, or as part of a deal to get a player that they feel helps them win now. Now, again, my personal opinion, right? Not that it matters. My personal opinion is I don't think that there's a move out there for the Warriors to get close enough to contending to where it makes sense to sell off a lot of your young pieces. That's my personal opinion, right? But this is, again, what we're hearing. Like this is coming out from articles and things like that of players that the Warriors could be looking to move if the right deal is there. And you look at Looney as well. Has he fallen out of that rotation for the or out of part of the future for the Golden State Warriors? He's 28 years old. So if you move on from Kevon Looney, he's never averaged double figures or anything like that. It's really not a big deal for them. Now, will you get something to bite? I think you need to sweeten that deal, right? And Andrew Wiggins remains a player that I do think that the Warriors would move if they could. Big contract there. While he did have he was very key in their championship run a few years ago. When it comes down to it, is that, listen, he's missed time. He hasn't been able to stay healthy. He hasn't really lived up to the 4-year, $109 million either, even though it looked like he was going to. He has not lived up to that contract. And because of that, if the Warriors can find themselves in an advantageous situation where moving Wiggins can get them the deal that they want or a player that they want, that makes sense, right? And then Kuminga. Not extending Jonathan Kuminga comes down more to if he's on the trade market or not. I know a lot of people are going to talk about it as if it's just about that. It's not. I think that before, reportedly, the Warriors did offer him a contract extension of around $30 million. He wants closer to the max, which is almost $45 million a year for him. So the Warriors want to kind of make sure that he's going to make the necessary steps. Was that step that he made last year, especially after, talking about not being used and utilized correctly, is that's going to be something that maintains for him? And if it does, I think the Warriors got them one, right? And there's no mistake about that. But the bigger question is he going to live up to that? And if he's not, well, then they move on to him, and the team that could be looking to trade a disgruntled star or whatever else get a nice solid piece there, right? That they can extend, and then they can, at 22 years old, Jonathan Kuminga is worth any risk, especially if it's a team that's kind of changed their direction and trajectory. So listen, I still think the ultimate thing that if I had to bet my money, that Kuminga and the Warriors agree on a long-term deal at the end of the season. That's what I think to watch. But it is something interesting to watch, and the Warriors join a lot of teams that right now. I think the Portland Trailblazers are one. The Utah Jazz are another one with some of their pieces. There are teams that have pieces that they could be looking to make deals. Now, I think all those teams' motivations are different. Portland Trailblazers could be looking to get off of, Time Lord and Grant and things like that to kind of get some assets back towards the future. But I think this is shaping up that it could be a very interesting trade season in the NBA, and they're always really interesting, right? Like I say that like they're not all interesting, but that is something to look out for as well. So closing opening night, going into day 2, already kind of looking forward to what moves that could be made around the NBA, and we'll see what that brings, man. But let me know your guys' thoughts on any and all topics down below. Make sure you guys are following us as well at NBA Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything basketball related. And I'll see you guys the next time I feel like making a video. Probably tomorrow. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.